Wait. Hi, welcome to our How to Register webinar for KINGMUN 2024.
We're the Delegate Affairs team, Rika and Megan, and we are glad to see you guys here today.
All right, on the agenda today, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over how to register as a delegate. Just in case you don't know, we're going to go over some important terms that you'll need to know while registering, such as an independent delegate. Next up, we're going to go over how to navigate financial aid, and then how to register as a delegation, and then along with that, how to navigate the delegation portal. So first thing first, how to register as a delegate. So to register as a delegate, you're going to go to this first link located right there, which is our registration page. And here you can find everything you could possibly need to register, including things such as our registration guidelines. Highly recommend you read the country and position matrices and financial aid, and most importantly, the delegate registration page. So over here, you're going to click on this button right here that says Delegates Registration, and it'll lead you to the form that you'll have to fill out, which will automatically register you. And then we can go ahead and assign you a position. So some important terms to know is an independent delegate. So you can either register as an independent delegate or as part of a delegation. If your school's MUN club has not registered as a delegation, you will register as an independent delegate. A way to check with this is to check in with your advisor, or you could go to our form. And if your school is listed underneath delegations, then you can go ahead and register as a part of a delegation. If your school's not under that list, then you automatically should register as an independent delegate. Next up, committee selection. We ask you to choose your top 3 committees and top 3 positions within each committee and provide a reasoning for why you want to be in these committees. This helps us fit you into the committee that you want and the committee that would best suit your skills. We ask that you choose beginner, intermediate, and advanced committees based on your skill level. For example, if you're newer to Model UN, we ask that you choose a beginner or more intermediate committee. And if you have a lot of experience, we ask that you choose an advanced committee. We also have a registration tutorial at the link listed at the bottom of your screen that you can go ahead and click and watch if you need more help. And it's sort of a run through on how to register. All right, next up is financial aid. So all delegates requesting financial aid must first register for financial aid through the form on our registration page. So before you register as a delegate, we ask that you register for financial aid, which can be found at the link provided in this QR code. And then afterwards, after this has been approved, you'll get a message from our USG of Finance, and then you may register for the conference.
Right, so now we'll be talking about delegation registration. So in this section, we will cover group versus individual payment, delegation responsibilities, etc. So it's first important to define a delegation. So like Megan touched on, a delegation is essentially a school MUN club or another affiliated organization with MUN that wants to attend a conference with a group of delegates, with a group of individual students. So that's what a delegation is. So this delegation registration form must be completed before delegates part of that delegation can register for the conference to be affiliated with the delegation itself. So to find a delegation registration form, you can once again go to the registration page on our website and scroll a little down until you find this delegation registration link. So the advisor or head delegate must fill out this form with appropriate information such as like advisor contact, head delegate contact, and anticipated delegate count, as well as some other information as necessary to register as a delegation. So and it's important to note that delegates still must register individually after this delegation registration is filled out. So it is highly preferable that delegates with wanting to be a part of a delegation register after the delegation that they're a part of registers for the conference, so they can be affiliated with them. So another important thing to consider when registering as a delegation is the payment option. That's a very important part of delegation registration itself. So there are 2 ways to pay for KINGMUN as a delegation, either group or individual payment. So the easier way is individual payment, where delegates have to pay upon submitting their registration form. So all the fees will be taken care of individually by each delegate upon their registration itself. So the delegation portal, which is a tool that will be emailed to the advisor and head delegate upon submission and confirmation of delegation registration, will track these total fees, but these fees are already settled and there no additional payments need to be made. However, the other option is group payment, where delegates are able to register without paying for the conference. And the delegation portal tracks the total invoice, itemized by the amount of delegates and their total fees. And this is what tracks essentially the total invoice that the advisor must then settle themselves. So the advisor must generate this invoice with the delegation portal. I'll get into why shortly. And with this invoice, they will be emailed it, sent a PayPal link to their email once they invoice the delegate, once they invoice, and this total invoice must be paid in full by the end of each registration cycle. So essentially, it's important to consider it's important to note that advisors have additional responsibilities when choosing group payment as an option, because their fees must be paid in full by the end of each registration cycle, like I touched on before. And what that really implies is that before like early registration ended, which was March 9th, the total fee that the total fees that the delegation accumulated through delegate registration must be paid on that date, by that March 9th date. Otherwise, KINGMUN reserves the right to revoke that prorated rate and charge all delegates the new registration period's rate instead. So that's an important consideration when selecting group payment. I know that there are a lot of public schools that require certain paperwork to be filled out with field trips, and therefore need group payment as an option to be the way that delegates must pay for the conference. So it's just important to think of these things like district guidelines as well as responsibilities before officially choosing which payment option to go for as an advisor. So now we're going to get into the delegation portal. So this is what a delegation portal looks like. Like I said before, the link to the delegation portal will be emailed to the advisor and head delegate in the same email that their delegation registration confirmation email is. So it kind of just looks like this. As you can see here on the top right corner, there's some control buttons, and it essentially just has some information on the registered delegates, their grade, committee position, as well as the payment plan and the status of the delegation, whether they are registering, locked, invoiced, or paid, as well as the delegate count, current delegate count versus anticipated delegate count. As a note, do not worry if you go over the anticipated delegate count, that does not matter. And it also has information on advisor, head delegate, bookkeeper, etc. So if you were to, if you just want to double check this information, this is where you can do that. So what's an important thing to look at is this bottom left corner, which I'll get into in the next slide. So this bottom left corner has essentially the place where you can track fees. So it has the amount of delegates, the quantity, and then the total fee for all of them. It's important to note that financial aid will be filtered into this. So if a delegate, so this fee is adjusted based on the financial aid requested by each delegate. So yeah, the quantity versus the delegate, so you can track that total invoice, especially important to note for a group payment because it breaks down the fees and it makes it so it's not a surprise when the total invoice is generated to and given to the advisor. So how do you actually generate an invoice, right? This lies in the portal tools, which is the top right corner of the delegation portal. So the two main ones are this lock delegation feature and this generate an invoice feature. So getting into those in the next slide. To generate an invoice is to click that money button. So this will send the PayPal link to the advisor and bookkeeper with the total invoice for the delegation, and also automatically locks the delegation. So no delegates can register. So if you want to lock the delegation, otherwise, then you could just click that lock button, and this prevents delegates from registering further. This is useful for planning processes internally, so use this wisely. The other features are a bit more secondary, but one of them is the get help feature, which is this question mark over here. It links directly to the delegate affairs email, which is the primary registration contact email. The refresh page feature, which essentially just refreshes the delegation portal for you. And lastly, the toggle theme feature in case you want to switch from light to dark mode. So yeah, that mainly covers the delegation registration and our total webinar. So thank you guys for tuning in. So if you guys have any questions, please email them to us at da@kingmun.org. That is the delegate affairs email, once again, and the primary contact for registration questions. So please email that with any questions. We will be sure to get back to you generally within 48 hours. And we are really looking forward to seeing you guys attend KINGMUN 2024. Thanks for tuning in.